guys, and welcome back to the UtdDistrict YouTube channel. We've just come back from Manchester United making a comeback against Nottingham Forest in the Premier League. United went 2-0 down within 4 minutes and alarm bells rang on social media, and I'm sure with Ten Hag and his staff. But United managed to get back into the game and win 3-2 with goals from midfield trio Christian Eriksen first, then Casemiro, and Bruno Fernandes with a penalty to win the game. I wouldn't say that it was a brilliant performance from United when you take away that opening 4 minutes, but I wouldn't say it was a bad one either. I think we deserved the win overall after a crazy opening few minutes, and there were certain players who definitely did impress on the day. So we're going to get straight into it for the player ratings for this match. And first of all, of course, it is Andrea Ranocchia in goal, and it was a really strange kind of situation for that first Forest goal, and I don't think he covered himself in glory. First of all, I think he could have really came out and closed down the angle, but he decided to stay deep, which is fine. I mean, it's a preference kind of thing, but he stayed deep, but then I don't know whether he kind of tripped himself or expected the dummy, and then he just almost fell over and allowed the player to get the goal. I think overall he didn't really have much else to do. He couldn't do anything for the second goal. He had one bad pass which didn't really lead to anything, but other than that I think it was an alright performance. But when you take into account that first blunder, I think a 6 out of 10 is fair overall, because I think he made one good save, especially in the second half when the game was still in the balance, and that was an important moment for United. Up next is Wamba, and I thought he had a good game overall. It's just a bit frustrating. I remember 2 instances in the first half where he done brilliantly to open up the space and get the ball on the right flank in an advanced area, but he just wasn't able to find a man in the box with his pass. But taken away from that, I do think that overall he had a really good performance, defensively sound, and he's just looking really confident when he's on the ball dribbling. And it's really interesting to see because he doesn't look good doing it, but it's so effective. So overall, I would give Wamba-Saka a 7.5. And Rafael Varan, he came off at half-time after probably being United's best defender in the first half. There was one instance in particular where we were 2-0 down, we hadn't got the goal back, and Forest were on the break. It might have been 2-1 actually, I don't remember, but Forest were on the break and Varan was covering the man in the middle, and he's done this many times for United before, and it's excellent defending on the defensive transition, and he just closed down the angle to the player who took it past Lisandro Martinez, I believe, or Diego Dalo on United's left side, and he still cut off the passing lane to the original player that he was marking, and was able to snuff out the chance and concede a corner. But it was a really dangerous chance, and it was just a really good example of how good of a defender Varane is in those situations. Hopefully his injury is nothing serious. I believe Ten Hag said it was precautionary, so we'll find out more in the coming days. But with Luke Shaw and Mason Mount out, among others, it wouldn't be good to have Varane unavailable for any amount of time, really. So overall, I would give Varane a 7 out of 10 as well. He could have potentially gone higher if he stayed on for the whole game and continued like that, but only a 45-minute cameo for him. On his left was Lisandro Martinez, and I saw a lot of people saying that he was having a dodgy game in the first half. I think that was just because we conceded 2 goals. I wouldn't say either of them were really his fault. I don't think it was his man from the corner, and I don't believe the first goal was really his doing either. I thought he had a good game. Maybe he's not hitting the heights exactly of last season. I think that's overall because United as a team aren't playing that well. But I thought he had a decent game. He just controls the play in possession. He's really calm on the ball. And I think it was before United's first where he had the ball advancing into Forest's final third. And I think almost any other United player, Bruno, Casemiro, would have shot. But he stayed calm and he passed it on. And I think that was when Bruno, who was in a bit of a better position to shoot, had the go, and it came out to Marcus Rashford, who squared it to Christian Eriksen. So overall, I would give Martinez a 7 as well. I think it was a decent game. I don't think it was anything special and hoping that he can get to the levels that he had last season, but decent nonetheless. To his left was Diego Dalo in place of the injured Luke Shaw, and I thought he had a good game. Maybe a little bit of defensive frailty throughout the game, but I do think Forest were overloading that right side on occasion, and Rashford isn't known for getting back into those positions, although he did in a couple of times in the second half. I thought Dalo was good on the ball. He helped United. He kind of helped control the game a little bit when United needed it. And yeah, there's not much else to say about Dalo. I thought it was a decent performance. Nothing more, nothing less. So another 7 out of 10. Casemiro. Now this guy, he's splitting a load of opinion at the moment, which is a bit crazy because of how good he was last season. But he's not started this season well. There's no debate in that. And I thought he was really poor in the first half. It's like he's going out for balls which maybe he thinks he can get, but when you're watching on the TV screen and you can see the kind of the players behind him, how far away he is from the ball, it just looks like he's got no chance, and he ends up kind of getting bypassed. His passing was quite sloppy in the first half, but I think he had a much improved second half performance. He was a lot better in possession, and I think it was his ball in behind which Bruno chased that led to Forest going down to 10 men. And overall, I think he was a lot better in the second half, and then of course got his goal. No matter how Casemiro plays, he will always be a box threat for United, and he's definitely United's best box threat. So yeah, that was an important goal, a decent second half performance, a poor first half. So I'll give him as well a 7 out of 10. It's a little bit boring with all these 7s, but I think it was kind of that kind of performance. And the next player as well with a 7 is Christian Eriksen. He got the goal with a very smart finish in the first half, and I think he played well. I just don't think it was anything special. It was a decent performance from the Danish international and an important goal. But yeah, I'd say a 7 and a good return to the side after Mason Mount came out through injury. Now moving on to Bruno Fernandes, and he certainly is not a 7. I've given Bruno a 9 out of 10 after his performance. He got a goal through the penalty, which was a big pressure situation late on in the game. To go 3-2 up, and of course he got that assist, a brilliant run after it looked like it was a bit of a bad free kick playing to Marcus Rashford, but the forward played a brilliant ball back in behind to Bruno, who headed across to Casemiro excellently. And I do think Bruno had a great performance otherwise, and he was really promising. He looked like he was almost dragging certain United players forward when they were down and 2-1 down, and then made sure to push forward for the win. It was a really good performance, and I think he deserves a 9 out of 10 and certainly the man of the match performance. And now moving on to Antony, and I think he had a good game until he was substituted. Maybe a bit of a poor start, but I think that he looked a lot better going on the outside of players. We saw that on numerous occasions where he'd go on the outside, and Anthony Martial was very close to putting away one of his crosses with his right foot, which is a promising development. And I think he just looked a lot sharper, a lot better in possession. There was still a few moments which we've seen of Antony in recent weeks and since he signed where he's a bit sloppy. He doesn't really create through a good opportunity. But I think overall he had a really decent display, and it's something to build on for the Brazilian. So overall I would give him a 7.5 out of 10. Now, Anthony Martial returned to the side for the first time since the back end of last season, and he was a bit uninspiring, to be honest. I don't think he really got involved enough. There was a couple of opportunities where you might have thought that he could have been in a better position inside the box when a ball would come in, and then maybe he could have got a goal. But yeah, a bit of a disappointing return to the side for Martial. You'd expect Rasmus Højlund to start next week if he is fit, and Martial to go back to the bench. But yeah, I would give him a 5 out of 10 overall because of a lack of impact in the game. Now, Marcus Rashford, on the other hand, was a bit of a strange performance again, like a couple of others. A really poor first half, I'd say, despite getting the really good assist in that one moment where he skinned his fullback and played the low cross to Christian Eriksen. I thought otherwise he wasn't very good in the first half. Second half, though, I thought he was a lot better. And when you look at the other 2 goals that United scored, and it was Rashford who played the ball to Bruno before he squared it to Casemiro. And it was Marcus Rashford who, similar to the first goal, skinned his man on the left and won the penalty this time, which Bruno Fernandes dispatched. So I think you can't really complain when a player gets 3 contributions to 3 goals and he's not even playing at his best. I think it was obvious that he was, even though it wasn't a great game for him, it's obvious that he's much better playing from the left than through the middle. And hopefully, like I said, that Højlund can be available so Rashford can stay on that left side and build a bit of momentum going into the season. So overall for Rashford, despite a bit of a quiet first half where it was a little bit frustrating to watch, I would give him a 8 out of 10 for his performance. So yeah, I think it was a decent showing, and he's got a lot more to give to United this season. And now moving on to the bench, and of course Victor Lindelof came onto the pitch at half-time after Varan was forced off. And I thought it was a decent display, like Lindelof does a lot of the time when he comes off the bench. He's just steady, he fits in quite well, and he doesn't make any glaring mistakes. And I thought it was another display similar to that, and I would give him a 7 out of 10 for that. And then Jadon Sancho came on shortly after, and I thought that he was again really sharp in all of his kind of movements, all of his play on the ball. There was nothing which came to fruition from his. I think that was partly because of United's approach in the final minutes of the game, where I think he could have easily got a goal contribution when Forest was stretched as they were attacking and United were breaking, but United just couldn't make the most of different situations in that last 15-20 minutes. So I would give him a 7 out of 10 as well, and I do hope that he can get more minutes going forward, because he is one of the few United players so far in his cameos who has looked really sharp on and off the ball, which is a bit different to last season with Sancho, so that's a good sign, hopefully. And then Scott McTominay came on in the closing stages of the game. It looked like he might have got injured, but it didn't look too serious in the end. There was a few decent runs from him, a couple of misplaced passes. It was an average performance coming off the bench. You couldn't really expect much more or much less, so I'd give it a 6 out of 10. So there are the Man United player ratings for United's win against Nottingham Forest. Up next is Arsenal away next week, and that will certainly be a difficult game for Ten Hag's side. But on the other hand, Arsenal haven't started the season very strongly either, and they drew 2-2 to Fulham earlier in the day. And it's possible that United could go there and get 3 points if they play well, because like United, Arsenal aren't playing amazingly at the moment after a very good season last year. So it'll be an interesting game. Of course, United are missing a few players, but hopefully, like I said before, Højlund will be back, and we can see what he's like on his Manchester United debut. But that's all for today. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Keep an eye out for any videos coming up in the next week in the build-up for that Arsenal game, and we'll see you in the next one.